sit on this wet ground. Sweaty head, cold. Hi guys, and welcome back to Keep Smiling Adventures, and today we are doing the Q&A. I put out a post to ask me any questions and you did, so we're going to go through them questions and I'm going to try and answer them the best I can. So let's jump in to the Q&A, the bikepacking Q&A. Right, let's go. First question. I'm not even going to try and pronounce usernames because I can't read at the best of times. So, hi, I love the vids. So, do you have any plans to visit Dumfries and Galloway? It's my neck of the woods and has some amazing gravel routes that can be combined into epics. Gatehouse of Fleet is a great base to explore. Big country route must be one of the best gravel loops in the UK, and they must do. Yes. Scotland is like one of my favourite places, and I would spend more time there if it just wasn't such a pain to get to. And I'm probably going to come to Scotland and maybe just try and stay like a month and just ride everything, because like it's just, one, it's expensive on the train getting from South Coast to Scotland. It's also just a pain, especially if I want to take the bomb track. It's just really hard with a bomb track. I can do it with the Sonder, not too bad, but yeah, it's just generally a bit of a pain. Yes, I do plan to come to that area at some point, possibly this year. I think when I next go to Scotland to do a trip, like I said, I will probably maybe just stay like a whole month. I'll just come up there, stay a whole month, ride some routes, all over the place, and then head back. Next question is, how do you afford all the gear with all the time out on the road? Well, YouTube. Basically, if I buy something, I make a video on that, and I make money back on that. It doesn't always cover the whole cost of it. YouTube doesn't pay quite that well at the numbers I make on my YouTube channel, but it does help with that sort of affording. So I brought this, make a video on it, and I think the video made like 15 quid or whatever, so it goes back into that. I also very rarely buy anything new. I buy everything secondhand, and I also, once I'm done with something, I get rid of it. I sell it on, even if it's like just to recover a bit of cost. It's kind of the lucky thing with a YouTube thing. I can kind of justify buying something if I can make a video on it. Hence why sometimes I'll buy a bag and make a review on it. Because one, I need to get some money back. I also need the stuff to be able to do these videos. So it's kind of an investment. Right, next question. The best advice you can give to those who want to start cycling adventures. Okay, I think the best advice is to just live in the moment of the adventure. Don't think too far ahead, don't overthink it basically. Just, with adventures, especially cycling adventures, it's all about the now, what you're doing now, not what you're doing in an hour's time, not what you're doing in 2 days' time. It's now. It's just, that's why I love the adventure. It's all about now. It's not about the future. It's not about the past. It's just what's happening right now. And also, just don't worry if you take too much stuff, because everyone does that, even me still. Don't worry if you have to walk up hills. Don't worry if you have to walk down hills because it's too steep. Don't worry if you just have to bail, because you know what? Failure is the only way to succeed. So yeah, just enjoy it really, and don't take it too seriously. Next question is, hi Josh, do you actually work for a living, or are you fortunate enough not to have to? Well, I'm fortunate that this is the job as of now. Whether it will be in a year's time, I don't really know. I was working like the start of last year was sort of like the last time I did like a proper job, where I was working in hospitality as a kitchen porter, and I just worked lots of hours, 48 hours weeks, and split shifts, and it was just draining and it's just boring. And so I just decided, fuck it, I'm gonna give this YouTube thing a go, and well, if it can continue, it might. So yeah, I work kind of, but I have to put up with cycling. So, but like with YouTube, you have to be pretty consistent. You have to always be uploading. I know I haven't done for like the last month, but you really have to be like constantly uploading, and that means that whether it's rain or shine, Sometimes I just have to go out, so it's not always like I want to go out. Sometimes I just need to make a good video. If you had the money, I'm guessing this means if you had all the money in the world, where would your dream bike pack be? Well, it's a hard one because I think somewhere like Nepal would be pretty cool. Really anywhere that's rugged, vast, empty, but still with a few people living there, but just generally just mountainous. So I think like Nepal would be pretty cool. Or just generally, I'd quite like to just cycle anywhere that still has kind of tribes, kind of like living that kind of old style life, like not the modern world. I think that would be cool. So maybe like through some parts of Africa somewhere, I don't know. I think that would just be really cool to just maybe meet people like that, or just to cycle past and be like hello, and they're just, you know, going about their day, hunting, farming, whatever they're doing. I think that'd be cool. But yeah, I think maybe like Nepal would probably be like the dream place to just go and cycle around. I just think that kind of area. Nice. What cycling computer do you use and why? Love your adventures. Keep smiling. Thank you. And I am using the Garmin, I think it's called the 830. They do, I think it's the 810 that's not touchscreen or something, and then the 830, the touchscreen version of that. Now the reason I'm using that is because I picked it up secondhand after I was using a Wahoo Roam, because everyone raved about it being so good. And if you go back to them videos where I'm still using it, you'll pretty much always hear me complaining about it. I just did not get on with it. So I'm using the Garmin 830. It's been really good so far. I pretty much just always have it plugged into the dynamo. It's got a pretty good battery on it anyway. It does do about 12 to 15 hours while following a route. And yeah, the reason I used that over like the Wahoo was I didn't like that I couldn't just scroll around the map, because it's obviously not touchscreen on the Roam. So that's the main reason why I went back to a Garmin. I was using the Garmin Edge 1000, one of them really old ones before, but the problem with them, batteries are terrible on them Garmins. They were when they were new. They definitely didn't get better as they aged. Also the charging port was underneath, which was a pain. So yeah, the Garmin 830 is, I mean, I know a lot of people don't like Garmin and stuff, but for me, I don't really care about the warranty. Again, it's secondhand, so I don't have any of that. I'm happy, if I break it, I will fix it myself. I'm happy to take it apart and fix it. So yeah, I just use Garmin because I can take it apart, fix it, and it's just been reliable for me so far. No crashes, Garmin 830. Age-old question of, is steel real? What will your next bikepacking rig be? Okay, so steel is real, but steel is great for this type of thing. I think it's, you know, touring, bikepacking, it's decent, especially if you want to bike for longevity. It's going to last. Even if you do break it, you'll probably be able to find someone to be able to weld it back together. Pretty much anywhere in the world, somebody will be able to weld it. Even if it's a crap job, you'll still be able to get rolling. But to be honest, I love a carbon bike. I really enjoy riding carbon bikes. If your aim is for performance, carbon. If your aim is for longevity, probably steel. But if you want to go a bit more bling, then you've got titanium. But the only problem with titanium in my eyes is, you know, it's great material, it's super strong. If you do break it, okay, it can be fixed just like steel, but you're going to be a little bit more limited to finding somebody to be able to fix it for you, and because it is quite a hard material to work with. So yeah, I think steel is real, unless you've got fake steel somehow. Question is, how do you deal with cleanliness on bikepacking adventures, particularly the bibs? Well, I don't, I just stink like shit. So what I normally do, especially with the bibs, is I normally have 2 to 3 pairs. I'll ride in 2 of them pairs, and I normally just use 1 of them pairs to get home on the train, but they're there if I really need them. But ultimately, wash them, find streams, and just wash your clothes. It's harder obviously this time of the year when it's cold, it's wet. Just generally, you know, have a little wash. If you're brave enough, dunk in a stream even in the winter, and just try and wash yourself. When I lived outside for like 3 months, and I was sort of like living kind of on my bike, but I was still working, so I still had to maintain a bit of cleanliness for civilization. You could just go to a laundrette. Obviously they're getting harder to find nowadays, but they're still around. If you come through a big place, you could chuck your stuff in a laundrette, spend an hour, warm up. But generally for me, with clothes, especially socks and stuff, I just find a day, I just say, right, I'm spending an hour, I'm gonna wash my clothes. If you're doing bike packing, you're not gonna smell the best, okay? This question is thoughts on using clipless pedals, and would you ever see a need for flats? And how do you get on with no morning brew without your stove? Cheers. Okay, so clipless, yeah, I like clipless. I've always ridden, ever since riding like proper bikes, since I brought like my first proper bike, I always went down the clipless route, whether it was road or mountain bike versions. I think for bike packing or touring, for me, I personally prefer to ride clipless because it's a very pedaling endeavor. You need to pedal lots, and it's just way more comfortable to ride clipless shoes and pedals than it is to ride flats. However, when I did go around the coast of Europe from Calais to Seville, I did ride flats, and it was fine, and it was quite nice to just, you know, have a bit more of a casual shoe, albeit it was kind of a mountain bike shoe. So personally, I prefer to ride clipless on all of my bikes, and just obviously when you're doing bike packing or touring, just find something you can walk in and something that kind of looks a bit nicer, so if you want to go and stop at some place you don't look like a dweeb. And the last part to that question was how do I manage without a morning brew, without carrying a stove? Well, the thing is, I never drink tea or coffee. I don't mind coffee, but I hate tea. It tastes like crap, and I've tried so many different teas all around the world. Yeah, I don't like tea. It tastes like crap, and I'm not even sure tea drinkers like tea, because as I was a kitchen porter, I threw litres of tea down the sink because people didn't drink it. They would just make a tea. I think people just like making tea. I don't think they like drinking it, because yeah, they make it and then just leave it everywhere. Yeah, and I just don't drink tea. On the other hand, for like hot food, I could live without hot food for the rest of my life, if I'm honest. I could never eat a hot meal again, and it really wouldn't bother me. Yeah. So yeah, that's normally what I don't bother carrying a stove. I have carried them in the past, and I just ended up carrying them for no reason because I just never used them. And tea drinkers suck. Is that near the South Downs? My only guess is you mean the picture I posted with this with the question of asking me questions, and no, it was near Verwood. Are lowrider bags becoming less popular? I thought a lowrider was a bike. I'm assuming lowrider you mean like panniers, and I would say not really. I think it depends on what world you're looking at, bike packing or touring. I think there's a big difference between bike packing and touring. I think bike packing is off-road touring, and touring is mostly on-road, but you do kind of sometimes use sort of cycle routes which aren't particularly paved, right? So when you're really off-road, panniers, they're fine, they still work, but I think most people try to be a bit more lighter and a bit more weight cautious while off-road on bike packing adventures. Because obviously when you're off-road, it's just harder work anyway, so why make your life harder by carrying more stuff? So I wouldn't say they're necessarily not as common now, but I think I think bike packing's become more popular because it's cooler. If you look at touring, it's never had this kind of like, oh, that's a cool thing to be doing. It's kind of like this geeky kind of thing that people do, your stereotypical old age, midlife crisis kind of thing. I don't think that, but I think that's kind of like the stereotype of touring panniers. Although I think still people use panniers, but I think, like I say, I think it's mostly, you'll mostly see this type of setup because of the weight kind of issue. My question is, what's better for wild camping in the summer on the South Downs Way, bivy or tent? Okay, in the summer, so if you're doing the South Downs during summer holidays, I would probably say a bivy, because it is a really popular place. And you tend to have to stay, there are some places this doesn't apply, but that you're always pretty close to the actual path. So a bivy is kind of the most stealthiest option, or just like a low profile tent is still fine. Just don't take a hammock because there's nowhere to hammock camp. But I'd say a bivy in the summer months if it's like summer holidays, or just a very low profile tent. How many calories do you eat, and how do you manage to maintain your energy levels for the amount of distance you cover on trips? Now, I always get asked, why didn't I eat enough? Why am I not eating? Did I only eat against us? Okay, I don't always show on my videos how much I eat, so I don't every time I stop and eat show it. But typically, I don't know numbers. I'm a very, as soon as I feel slightly hungry or feel slightly I need to eat, I eat. Whether it'll be just a quick chocolate bar or a Ginsters or a pasty or just, I don't know, some sweets. I just sort of continuously eat. I very rarely stop to eat a big meal. That's something you probably have noticed, because I don't really like eating a massive meal then cycling. If I had my way, I'd probably just eat one meal a day and then I wouldn't eat for the rest of the day, but I don't really like going to restaurants and stuff. So probably not quite enough, because I'm just always topping up. I'm never like completely refueling, but I've always only, especially when I was working in kitchens, I only used to eat I'd eat breakfast and I wouldn't eat until midnight when I got home, and I was cycling in between that as well. So yeah, I don't know, can't give you numbers, sorry. What's your go-to meal deal? Can't afford them anymore, they're way too expensive. If we're talking like a Tesco meal deal, I normally get like the naked blueberry smoothie. It depends if I want pasta. I think most of the pastas are kind of annoying when I'm cycling because I can't store them anywhere. But I quite like, there's the it's like a deli meat sub. I think that's quite nice. And then for the snack, what do they do? Sometimes it's a Serene, sometimes it's just like one of them chocolate fudge kind of things. Never crisps. I never really bother with crisps. Even though I love crisps, I never bother with them in the meal deal. It's not worth it. Yeah, but meal deals, I can't afford them anymore. Way too expensive. What has been your favourite bike you have ever owned? Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too. And my favourite bike, there's been many, but I think my favourite bike is the one I'm most sentimental about, and it is sort of the first bike I ever brought. Sort of. I say sort of because I broke the first one I ever brought. It was a warranty replacement. It was actually a next level up. So the one I brought was the Centre Strada. It was this white one. It was ghastly. Looking at it now, I don't know what I was thinking. It had white tyres. It was a road bike. But yeah, it was the first bike I brought, and I broke it. I was devastated. Bianchi came through and said, we'll give you an upgrade. We'll give you a new frame. So they gave me the Infinito, the Bianchi Infinito. They had this weird colour coordination. Like normally Bianchis are like Celeste green, white and Celeste, you know, that sort of stuff. This was an Italian flag, and I built it up and I was like, this looks really good. Contacted Bianchi and they were like, and I was like, where's this like frame come from? I couldn't find it anywhere else. And they went, oh yeah, it's a limited edition. There's only 100 ever made for the UK. And I have got one of them, and I still own it to this day. I don't ride it. I'm too sentimental about breaking it. It just stays in storage, and it will just stay with me until I die, and then I don't know what's going to happen to it, because I probably will never ride it again because I just love it too much. Right, next question is, how did you get into it? I guess you mean cycling. I love long rides solo or with a group, but I am finding making the jump to solo adventures and tours hard. One thing I'm concerned about is bike security. Any advice? What's your routine from 7 PM to 6 AM? Okay, so how did I get into it? Like, for me, cycling is always just been about getting from A to B. So it's always been about the journey, from getting to school, doing a paper round. By the way, Oxford Mail, you still owe me 30 quid for not paying me when I was a kid. And when I got like my first job, I couldn't afford to get there because I didn't have any money. So I ended up having to cycle anyway. So I went to the garden, built this old rally up, I was cycling 20 miles there, 20 miles back on this rally, old, rigid mountain bike. That was great, used it for ages. The plan was actually to get a motorbike or a moped, but then after like 2 months, and 2-3 months, and I was saving up to buy my first bike, that Bianchi, the white ghastly one, I ended up just buying a bike and just cycling. And then I was like, once I realized I could cycle 50 miles, I was like, okay, I can just cycle wherever. It's a real proper tour. I went from Oxford all the way up to Glasgow, and then across to Edinburgh, and then back. And it was like, I think it was like 500 miles. I did it in like, I think it was like 5 or 6 days as well. For like the first time I ever did 100 miles, I actually did 160 miles. So yeah, that's sort of how I got into it. I just kind of got on a bike, and I wanted to go somewhere, and I just wanted to do it on my own. I wanted to just get there, so I just cycle there. What was the other part of this question? The other part of this question was any advice on the security. So yeah, I mean, when you're going into shops, which is like the most scary kind of thing, I guess, mostly try and just go in village shops because there's nobody around. Also, know exactly what you want to get before you go in, so you can just go in, grab it, till go out. Be quick. You can also get pretty good tiny little locks where you can, do enough to stop somebody just walking off with your bike. I personally don't. I just leave it and just hope for the best. I touch wood, I've actually never had a bike stolen yet. Hopefully that remains the case forever. But yeah, I'm just very much just know exactly what I want and straight in, and just be quick, and just obviously if it feels a bit dodgy in the area, just don't leave your bike. And also at night, if you're wild camping, you shouldn't really have any issues there because you should be hidden enough that nobody's going to just walk on like stumble upon you. So yeah, it's sometimes a bit scary. Sometimes I'm walking out and I don't see it. Once this person actually did move my bike because I was a stupid idiot and put it in front of a bench because it was super early in the morning. I didn't think anyone was going to be there, and I came out and I was like, oh my god, my bike's got, oh no, it's just there, she's just moved it across. I was like, oh hi. And the next part of that question was, what's your routine from 7 PM to 6 AM? It varies really. Depends how tired I am. Some trips are just harder than others, and I just get to camp, I have a quick bite to eat, and I can literally sleep through that. I'm really good at just sleeping anywhere and everywhere. Sometimes if I've got good internet, I'll come on here and I'll answer your comments and stuff. Like, I'll spend a bit of time doing that. So that's sometimes when I'm replying to you, I'm actually in a tent somewhere. Sometimes I'm just sort of like looking on social media. Sometimes I'm just looking at the stars. But yeah, if it's a really tiring trip, I'm just sleeping. Have you built up a significant tool set after years of maintaining your own bikes? Not as much as I would like. It's not like fancy or anything really. It's very much just everything I need, just the stuff I need. So every now and again, SRAM or Shimano, whatever, they change something and you have to like replace something. But I don't have like a whole lot of tools. I only really like components that I don't need that many tools to be able to fix. Ideally, I'd be able to build my bike right here with a very few set of tools. So I don't have any nice torque wrenches or anything like that. I'm very, sacrilege and just tighten it to feel. The only really nice thing I have is maybe a color coordinated set of Allen keys, because mostly on bikes nowadays, apart from like bottom brackets and stuff, that's all you really need. Most things are just done with Allen keys, which is nice. Would you consider a lejog vlog broken up into maybe 3, 4 or 5 parts? For the people that don't know, lejog is Land's End to John O'Groats. So this year I am planning to do, it's not going to be Land's End to John O'Groats, it's going to be John O'Groats to Land's End, I think, but it's going to be the off-road version, so the GB Divide route. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do that. I'm not sure when. It's going to really depend on trains and how I can get there. The reason I'm going to start at John O'Groats is because getting home from Scotland just on a whim is really hard and can be really expensive. It was not cheap to get back from the Great North Trail. So I will be doing that, and whether it's in 3 or 4 or 5 parts, I don't know. I tend to just work that out when I'm in the editing stage. Okay, tell us a bit more about your video kit. What do you use and why? How do you pack it? How do you charge it? How do you store, back up your data? How do you film? So this is basically how I film these trips. Basically, I use 3 or 4 cameras, right? So the one you're on now, which is a GoPro Hero 9. Nothing special. This is the one that's normally in my mouth, like this. Like this. And then, you know, I can talk to you like that. That's why sometimes you hear me when I'm going, trying to my ventriloquy. I can't say that word. You know, when the puppet's that word. So yeah, that's my main camera. That's what you'll see, the point of view. That's the one I'm normally talking to. Then I also have this camera. It's called a DJI Osmo Action. It's like their first one. Pick this up really cheap now. This camera is really good. It's just super reliable. It shoots in 4K. It's not very good for like point of view stuff. It's not wide enough, I don't think. But this is normally on a tripod, and you see me riding past. This is what I'm shooting on. The drones shots are the DJI Mini SE. It was the Spark for a while, but if you watch my video where I tried to go as far north as possible, it didn't end well, and ended in a canal. Tiny little drone. Great little drone, but yeah. So they are the cameras. I also have a phone. I use this quite a bit when I want to get sort of more detailed close-up shots, because action cameras are pretty terrible for getting them really detailed shots. They're great for wide angle stuff, not very good for detailed shots. The reason I choose action cameras over like a proper like mirrorless or a DSLR is 1, cost, and 2, I don't have to be careful with these. I leave this camera lit. Sometimes doesn't even come into my tent at night. It sits on my bike and it gets cold. I don't really worry about it because it can do that. It's also versatile. Like if I want to just like jump in like a river or something, I can take it with me. So yeah, there is that. Then you have all the batteries. I think I have in total it's something like 8 GoPro batteries. So there's 3 in here. I've got another one of these. If you're ever buying a GoPro, do not buy the blue batteries, okay? I don't think they come with them anymore, but don't buy them. They're terrible in the cold. I carry 3 batteries for the drone, and I only carry 3 batteries for this because I'm not using this so much as like the GoPro. I'm using this for like them sort of cinematic-y sort of riding past shots. I get like 2-3 days of footage before I need to change the battery in this DJI Osmo Action camera. To store all my stuff, I do take, obviously you got micro SD cards which you're recording them on, but I use GoPro Cloud, which is where everything's stored, which means I can access it, and that's good. That costs, I think it's like £50 a year, but they give you unlimited storage. And even though I guess it's really meant for your GoPro footage, I just put all my footage up there, and even the full videos of these get stored up there. However, I need to do a backup of my cloud storage onto like SSDs, which is not going to be fun because I need to download everything, which is going to be like 2-3 terabytes. Where have you been? It's been too long since your last video. I'm sorry. Yeah, lots of things happening. And what do you do when not cycling? What do I do when I'm not cycling? So when I get home off a trip, right, I need to do all the editing. So there's that. I've normally broken something, whether it's something on the bike or a bag or something I'm wearing, you know, there's always seems to be something. The last 4 months, every time I got back, there was something that needed changing, whether it was brake pads or chain, cassette, I don't know, brakes, whatever it was, everything. It just always seemed to be something, always something I needed to order, so I was sat around waiting for that. So I'm normally editing, fixing, and if I'm not doing something related to trying to like make a video, which would be like script writing or just generally just trying to like come up with different types of videos, not doing anything related to that kind of stuff, you'll probably just find me lounging around having a little jam on the ukulele. Not a question as such, just wanted to say what a legend you are. I love your content, inspiring for sure. I appreciate it, but I'm definitely not a legend. People who like save people's lives and look after people's lives on a daily, save the legend status for them, but I'm glad you enjoy the videos, and if it inspires you to get out and enjoy this cold England, then I'm happy. How much does your bike and all your gear weigh together? I just strapped on all my gear for my first trip and I'm up to 30 kilograms in total. My extra large hardtail does weigh 15 kilograms naked though. So you're a tall person like me because you have an extra large bike, so we never get the nice light bikes like these short people. I can't actually tell you a proper number here because I don't have any scales. I've never weighed this bomb track. I think bomb track say the bike weighs something like 15 kilograms. I have changed the wheels, I have changed the tires. That saved about a kilogram just on the tires. I don't know about on the wheels. Honestly, I reckon it's probably in the between 20 and 25. I don't know. That would be my best guess. But maybe if I'm ever in a bike shop and they have some scales, I'll weigh it for you and I'll let you know. Right guys, that is all of your questions that are there, and it's getting cold and I need to get a move on. So thank you for all them questions. I hope I answered them all. It's better I answered them all, but whether they were good enough answers for you, I don't know. But until next time, keep smiling, enjoy the adventure. Peace. It's getting cold. Let's go. Ugh, I got a dead leg.